All right, welcome everyone to another episode of Views from the Stands. As always, your host here, Gunner, aka Menji Blazin, if you're following on the socials. And we're going to talk about a few things here today, guys. And as you see, if you're watching, we're definitely going to be talking about Eric Henderson, the new co-defensive coordinator, run game coordinator, and defensive line coach for UFC. We're also going to be discussing about JuJu Lewis reclassifying, and then we're going to give my thoughts. And my takes on the Super Wildcard Weekend matchups. So looking forward to that. But let's get into it, guys. So yes, USC hires Rams D line coach to be our defensive coordinator, run game coordinator, and defensive line coach. And what this man would want you guys to do is subscribe to this channel. All right. But all seriousness, somewhat. This man is a technician, a savant, a developer. He's worked with Aaron Donald, worked with two rookies this year, Brian Young and Kobe Turner, made them studs this year. Combined for 17 sacks, combined for over basically a lot of pressures, and was one of the best combinations. But this guy's going to be able to relate to a lot of these guys, right? In recruiting and talking to these parents and whatnot. I mean, this man, unfortunately, a lot of his family, passed away at 9. His mother passed away due to cancer. His senior year, right before college, um, his grandmother passes away. Never met his dad as well. And then, in freshman year at Georgia Tech, he goes to Georgia Tech, becomes a stud there, by the way. Goes to NFL, plays a few years at NFL. But his auntie passes away. So everyone that was a mentor, a family member, a somebody to look up to and discuss when things are rough, right? They unfortunately pass away from us. So this man's been through a lot. Um, he's from Louisiana, so he's going to be able to talk to a lot of uh, these recruits in the South. But it really doesn't just focus on the South, right? I mean, I think you can go from a living room in Maine and be able to relate to these kids and these parents. They'll be able to go to Washington and do the same. So, very very excited that he completes our staff where we have Doug Belk, Matt Entz, and Danton Lynn as our new staff members, along with Sean Lewis, who's the one who gets retained out of all the members from the past staff. So shout out to Eric Henderson, man. He's gonna be a real dude, and I'm looking forward to it. All right, guys. JuJu Lewis, man, reclassifies to 2025. He was the number one overall recruit in 2026, and he is now the basically a top 10 player in the 2025 class. Obviously, those adjust as they go through camps and games and stuff like that. So obviously that'll adjust. But he's currently committed to USC. He still is excited about the future at USC under Lincoln Riley. But as always, right, it's the recruiting. It's basically what recruiting does. These schools aren't going to just lie down and do nothing. So Auburn and Georgia are looking to get some visits with him before the dead period kicks in, and then also Alabama and Texas are also going to be looking to compete with us. But I mean, at the day, it's going to be about what Coach Riley does with the quarterbacks, and so if this great man wants to develop, get a Heisman, and be a top 5, top 10 pick, you're going to go to Lincoln Riley. So very excited about this kid's future. Excited about how this just works out perfect. We got Miller Moss, Jaden Maia, and then now JuJu Lewis. So it's gonna work, and then hopefully 2026 we can get 2 QBs. One will probably be Walker Lyons' younger brother. He'll probably be like a 2027 kid because he's gonna go on a mission, and then our 2026 true kid, maybe the Utah kid. He's got some nice offers. He actually is going to transfer to one of the top schools at Utah. So shout out to him. Shout out to JuJu Lewis and what this does in terms of there's more consistency. I feel like more alignment with incoming quarterbacks, what our current QB room looks like. I'm really excited to see what he does in the Cardinal and gold. But all right, guys, the meat of the potatoes, what we here wanted to talk about, right? And we wanted to give my take and thoughts on, man, this Super Wild Card weekend, upsets galore. Coaches might get fired. And so what we're going to do here, we're going to go from the top left down, right? Okay, so it's kind of a little out of order from in terms of the games actually were played, but hey, it is what it is. But Eagles versus Bucks, that game was played last night, and the Buccaneers dominated the Eagles, man, 32-9. Continued struggles from the Eagles happened. Offense couldn't move the ball consistently. Defense couldn't tackle and couldn't guard anyone from the back end. So I do expect changes to happen from an assistant coach standpoint, at least. Because Nick Sirianni is definitely on the hot seat, in my opinion, and would not be shocked if they move on. Eagles are kind of known from a quick trigger standpoint, but we'll see, obviously, as these hours and days go out and stuff. But just shout out to Baker Mayfield, man. He was solid, dude. Was very consistent. The whole team was solid, both on the ground and passing. They were doing their thing, and so and obviously the defense just kept the ball in front of them, and I think that's right now how you just play the Eagles, in my opinion. So as you can see, the Eagles are the Buccaneers advance, and you can see the Lions. So we'll talk about them, but they definitely will match up against the Lions the next round. And we're going into that game next is the Rams versus the Lions. Again, shout out to the Lions for being the Rams, so we can officially have our defensive line coach, Eric Henderson. But man, just a back and forth battle. Teams were able to move the ball. There was more, field goals than not as they got closer to the red zone. But I mean, both teams were efficient, not much turnovers, and pretty much the game played out to whoever had the ball last was going to win it, and that's what happened. Detroit third down, gave it to St. Brown, and he dominated and caught the ball obviously and got that first down. So again, shout out for the Lions to get their first win in 30 years in a playoff home game. Now they have a great shot, honestly, to win this game against the Bucks, which we'll go over later this week, and get into a conference championship, man. Would be crazy to say in 2024 we see the Lions in the NFC Championship game, which would be insane. So shout out to them. Now going into the last game for NFC, as you can see, the Green Bay Packers upset the Cowboys, right? So the final score was 48-32 there, guys. But pretty much this game at half was a 27-7 game. The Cowboys, honestly, defense, they couldn't stop the ball, and then offensively, the Cowboys just couldn't be more consistent at the first half. There was a little struggles here and there. They made obviously adjustments later on, and were able to start moving the ball. But the Cowboys or the Green Bay offense, man, was just efficient from the start. 21 carries for Aaron Jones, 118 yards, 3 tutties. Jordan Love, 16 for 21, 3 tutties. I mean, the dude was efficient, throwing dimes. I mean, he was really like he's really like a Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers mix. He's got the precision like Aaron Rodgers and whatnot, right? And the throw accuracy, and even the throw mechanics. But I mean, then you got the Brett Favre where he's just slinging it, right? I mean, this dude was slinging it. So, just was cool to see, honestly. Just crazy how the Packers just, they know what to do in terms of letting these guys just kind of sit back, letting them see a Hall of Famer do the thing, and then boom, go and play. So shout out to them. Now they got a big test against the Niners, and I'm very excited about that game. All right, going on the AFC side now, guys. So we'll talk again top to the bottom. So Cleveland versus Houston. This was one of the first games of the week. And, I mean, this was a back-and-forth battle. At half, it was 24-14, and then pretty much the Texans' defense really dominated the second half, and the final score was 45-14, just routed them. Joe Flacco had 2 pick sixes, and that was obviously the big story. I would say part of the big story. The other story was, I mean, just CJ Stroud, man, 16 for 21, 3 tutties. Dude was efficient, and I think is if you have a balanced offense in this playoffs and your defense plays, good to all right defense, um, you're gonna have a chance to win ball games. So it's been great to see, and that's kind of been the theme on these winning teams, right? They're playing a balanced offensive game. But again, real quick. So again, I always forget. So Sirianni, right? He going back real quick. Sirianni could get fired. Cowboys. I mean, Mike McCarthy could definitely get fired. Jerry Jones is a very impatient man, so just a quick heads up on that. But so as you see, Texans will face Baltimore in a great matchup this weekend. Miami versus Kansas City. Pretty much -20, -30 degrees here, guys, and I mean, just the Chiefs were more efficient in this game. I mean, they really didn't wow you, I guess, in my opinion. Rasheed Rice had a great game, over 100 yards, but really just showed that Dolphins weren't ready in that weather, weren't ready to play a team over 500 and consistently struggle against those teams above 500. So definitely a mindset change in how they look at things or whatnot, but they definitely need to be more physical and more tough minded when games get close and be able to get over that hump. Because I mean it's going to be tough if they kind of continue to roll out with this roster. And maybe there's changes to happen. I'm not saying Tua, but I mean people have discussed about him. And then lastly, guys, my Steelers, beloved Steelers. I mean, obviously, we weren't going to really, go to the Super Bowl and dominate with the 7th seed. But we lose 31-17 against the Bills. At one point, it was 21-0, and I tweeted at Steelers and just waved, a white flag, and I said, I'm done, But after that tweet, we technically won the rest of the game, 17-10. So shout out for the Steelers, just kind of fighting back and trying to do something. At one point, it was 24-17, right? But again, the defense just couldn't. When without T.J. Watt, obviously you can see the stats alone. We are not the same team overall. We don't win when he's off the field, but especially that defense is not the same defense without him. So definitely looking forward to see what happens, in the offseason with the Steelers. We are looking like, Mike Tomlin's not going to step away. We're going to fire him. So I definitely expect some changes on the offensive staff. We need somebody, again, I feel like somebody from like the Niners system, somebody who knows that system and whatnot can come in and give us some spark, some excitement. Also sounds like, in-house maybe needs to be changed. I know Naj has been saying some stuff. So, I mean, we'll see what transpires here, guys, with these games, with the rest of the openings, which we'll talk later this week. Probably do one maybe tomorrow, kind of, discuss, hey, what's my predictions and whatnot. So, this will really conclude the episode, guys. So again, we recapped Eric Henderson. So shout out to him. He's expecting you guys to go subscribe. So make sure you guys are doing that. Shout out to JuJu Lewis for reclassifying, man. Excited to get you on the campus. Later this year into next year, and rediscussing, my take on these games for the Super Wild Card weekend and what those matchups look. And obviously, we'll discuss more on Friday about those matchups for the NFL playoffs. But as always, guys, I appreciate you for following along and being with me throughout this journey. But enjoy your Tuesday and peace, guys.